2010 is waning. 2011 arriving. Long time no see, Slammin' Stan listeners. This is Vandal Drummond, joined by Fredo Esparza, the muscle behind Slammin' Stan. This is edition number 45. And hope everybody had a bitchin' holidays, and hope everybody's going to have a bitchin' but safe New Year's Eve. Alfredo, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
That's
all I have to say. I'm doing good. Nothing more.
So you're going to leave it all to me?
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Well, I'll go ahead and bring it up. I guess what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? They sent me a letter. Blog Talk Radio sent everybody who runs their podcast through their website or whatever, a letter telling them that within, I guess we have until tomorrow. So you want to decide today if we want to keep on doing the show basically we have to pay after this to stay on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, Blog Talk Radio has been a wonderful thing since we started the show a year and a half ago. It's been, it allows people to do a no-budget show, and it's been quite a luxury for us, but I guess the party is over.
Well, now it's kind of late because we only have one day to decide if we want to pay $29 per month, which there's so many other options to do a podcast. There's no way you're going to pay $29 a month to do a podcast on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, and by sheer coincidence, before you received this letter, you and I both discussed about using, other sources to, assemble and air our podcast.
Yeah. We've been planning that. I think we planned that since the very first day we started on Blog Talk Radio. But back when that one show where you disappeared on me for a few seconds.
I remember that very well.
Yeah. And that was when we started thinking about getting something, backup plan.
That was the first time I think we started seriously discussing it, but we had few glitches since then, and it's almost like kismet. We started seriously discussing using, different audio recording material, uploading it through a different source, and boom. I think it was, if I remember correctly, that very same week you received the email from Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just seems, because the way they're explaining it is we have until December 31st to get it for $29 per month, but then afterwards it's, I think, closer to $40, which, $40 to do a podcast that sometimes we even forget to do. It's really not
for
that.
$40 a month, I'm usually not cheap, but I would want something pretty inviting, that something that would really, I don't know, a little pizzazz to what we already have. Especially when they've given people, something for free, and we got to give a thanks to Blog Talk Radio, for giving us a free meal for so long. But when you give somebody something like that for so long and suddenly charge for the same thing, people are going to look for other options.
It's not that easy to it's not that easy to stick around if it's going to cost you a little money, especially
exactly.
You got other things you'd like to waste your money.
I think probably most of the people who listen to this podcast know that we have two different Slammin' Stan pages on Facebook that both Fredo and I have access to. Look them both up on Facebook, and we pretty much approve everybody unless they truly frighten us, or unless we frighten them off.
Yeah.
So keep if you haven't friend us, or push the old thumbs up or like button on Facebook, and we will keep people posted on what's going on with the podcast. We're hoping to resume it, pretty much on schedule.
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Yes. So Slammin' Stan will still be around. It's just going to be through an alternate audio universe.
That we probably shouldn't mention because they'll cut us off right now. I think this.
Oh yes, those evil agents at Blog Talk Radio. They've always had it out for us.
Yeah, we got a caller already, Kurt.
Who do we have?
Who do you think you have?
Oh, I think we have the Bixie Demon, who I was communicating with not 1/2 hour ago. So much to talk about tonight.
Yes, like you can even talk about how perhaps maybe TalkShoe could be an alternate to Blog Talk Radio.
That's the one I was looking into. So.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used it myself, but the other guys at SB Nation use TalkShoe.
And it has a cool name.
Yeah. It's shorter, too, so.
That's right. It's a lot easier to Google.
Oh, I was trying to make you guys think that they cut me off. You didn't.
For a minute, I thought you were cut off.
I thought you kind of just stopped on purpose or something. I was like, no, Bix is censoring himself.
No, that only happens when we all talk over each other.
This is true. And what's the verb for that? Meltzering. Fredo invented the coolest verb. I can't remember if you created it in 2009 or 2010, but I have a mission. I want to, within, the next decade, get it inserted into Webster's dictionary. Meltzering.
Well, it came about when I was listening to that Cornette interview where he just kept talking over Cornette. And
that was classic. I loved it.
Yeah, Cornette just kept going through it like, okay, I'm still talking. Stop, Dave, stop.
Another thing before we get too deep into the show is, for those of you who haven't visited luchaworld.com, Alfredo has commissioned the first Lucha World T-shirts that feature an illustration of the Convict, Physico-Nuclear, Kung Fu Frankenstein, and, of course, Lucky Pierre. And Lucky Pierre is marking out on his own image, I must say.
Oh, my God.
You got a picture all over the place, too.
I'm looking at this thing. Okay.
It is a must-have.
Wait, is that the monster on the right, or who is
No, that is Kung Fu Frankenstein, who made only one appearance in Incredibly Strange Wrestling in 1999. But that's the other thing I hope 2011 will bring. A reemergence of some form of Johnny Legend's great promotion and the reappearance of Kung Fu Frankenstein.
Yeah, we need Kung Fu Frankenstein back.
Yeah. And it's interesting, though, that you asked if that was a monster, because the other thing that we should steer our listeners to is YouTube. User there by the name of Jellybeans, followed by a couple of digits.
I think it's 178.
I think you are correct, yes. Jellybeans178, who in the past year has posted a lot of early 1980s Los Angeles wrestling, some of which I am shocked anybody still has on tape. All very good quality.
Yeah.
He's posted a lot of the waning days of the LaBelle promotion, a little of the local Mexican indie promotion on YouTube. This guy's stuff is worth checking out, the stuff he's uploaded. But the gem came when I got an email from Bix here saying that there was monster footage of the famous monster portrayed by Hot Stuff Tony Hernandez in Los Angeles in 1981. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find this on YouTube as we're speaking, and I'm going to post it on the Lucha El Pierre page, or better yet, the Slammin Stand page.
Isn't it already on there, on your Lucha El Pierre page?
It's on there, but how many days ago was that?
It also comes up if you search for El Monstro.
Search for El Monstro.
M-O-N-S-T-R-O.
Yeah. He's wrestling Mario Valenzuela in this, who is a green wrestler who teamed with a brother named Joel Valenzuela. It's just so cool that somebody has proof that this happened. This is the gimmick that won the most disgusting promotional tactic that year in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And, you know, today it would pale in comparison to all the other candidates for, you know, most disgusting promotional tactic.
Well, maybe not WWF champion Bob Backlund.
Oh, Lord. Picky some of these people were.
In fairness, it was not just the gimmick of the monster. It was the idea that the promotion itself had commissioned the building of the monster in a laboratory.
Yeah, by the devious manager, Pete Collins. And those few who remember who Pete Collins was, Pete Collins, I don't know how he actually got hooked up in the professional wrestling business, but he was a mainstay on the local promotion. He didn't appear on Los Angeles TV until 1981, but before that, he was often the manager for Gordon and Goliath at the San Bernardino shows. He was a guy who had some money behind him. He didn't actually put any of it into the promotion, but he was a guy who dug wrestling, liked the wrestlers, and he's one of the guys, I'll never forget, the wrestlers just loved this guy. You know, when the promoters would go to give Collins his piddly payoff, he wouldn't take it. He would say, split it among the boys. And, of course, what the promotion did is they just pocketed it.
Shocking.
Shocking, I know. Oh, my God. Mike LaBelle doing that? I'm stunned.
Breaking news.
You know, but the reason I'm talking up Pete Collins was he was a really nice man. The personal memory I have was the first unintentional bump I ever took when I was walking back to my seat, you know, with, you know, my big-ass camera in hand, and I wasn't watching what was going on in the ring, and Peter Maivia threw Bad News Coage out of the ring and into me. I got toppled over, and I wasn't hurt at all, actually, and I sold it, though. I felt so proud to have been knocked over by a wrestler. But the thing is, Pete Collins was in, I can't remember if, yeah, he was in Maivia's corner, and I remember he sent somebody over to see if I was okay, and I remember whenever I was trying to bug wrestlers for photos and stuff, if they would blow me off, he would go and, you know, give them shit and say, he's a nice kid, here, pose for his photo, you know. But sadly, the only historic reference, if people, you know, look in, you know, the wrestling chronology in 50 years, you know, dust off the history books, probably the only mention of Pete Collins was he was part of the most disgusting promotional tactic of 1981. He was the one who built the monster. And that's why I just want to give a shout-out to the late Pete Collins and say what a nice guy he was. And I doubt anybody will dust off this podcast in 50 years and say, you know, let's hear what Vandal Drummond and Fredo Esparza have to say. But in case they do, I just want to say Pete Collins was a good guy.
You talk about they will do that.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of people dusting this off.
That's the most pessimistic thing I've ever heard Kurt say.
What's that?
That's the most pessimistic thing I've ever heard you say, Kurt.
I know. Kurt's so pessimistic.
What's with me tonight?
That's Bix's gimmick, man. Come on.
I'm stealing Bix's thunder. Okay, let me rephrase that. In 50 years, when people are looking through the history books of professional wrestling, going through all the flash drives and you know, dusting off the ancient chronicles, they will see something in the form of an MP3 and say, what is this? Slammin' Stan? Whoever thought up such a brilliant name? And they'll say, Vandal Drummond? And the intern will look up at his history professor and say, do you mean the Vandal Drummond? And Alfredo Esparza. And the other intern will say, you don't mean slambamjam.com, luchaworld.com, the ones who started it all, and they'll say, yes, we finally found the holy grail of professional wrestling, lucha libre, and B-movie culture.
And then one guy will say, hey, Blog Talk Radio, isn't that the thing that went out of business when they started charging everyone?
And you know what? I think that might be the most on statement that's been spoken all night.
That's going to be sad, like in a year when Blog Talk Radio's in trouble. I
think I'll still be checking Blog Talk Radio out just to see how many shows are still in existence, who keeps what.
Hopefully that show that Eric Bischoff called into will still be around.
Oh, I only read a bit of it. Wasn't he trying to put a happy face on the TNA reaction show, which is now kaput?
It wasn't reaction. It was just that this guy commented on his Facebook and kept trolling him, saying he'd be fired in any other business, and challenged Bischoff to call. And this is just, this is like the most minor of minor wrestling shows on Blog Talk Radio, and it's like its third episode. And Eric Bischoff calls in, and he argues with the guy for half an hour.
They should do that.
Oh, my God.
They should, post on people's Facebook pages and just come on, I dare you to call us.
So, there you go. So if we ever want to get Eric Bischoff on the show, we just know to talk smack about him and just, get the word out.
Right. And he'll scream at us.
That's like screaming at, the tadpole in your pond out back, saying, you think you're ever going to be a frog? You think you're ever going to be a frog that can swallow me? I'd like to see you try. And getting upset about it, too.
Yeah. Hey, we got a caller on the line already.
Who do we have here?
Hi, this is Eric Bischoff. I want to talk to Kurt Brown.
Oh, there you go, Kurt.
Eric Bischoff, the lost brother of Dan Farren.
Yeah, exactly. See, Eric Bischoff would never call this show because he only calls shows that deal with professional wrestling.
Oh. See, there's the other pessimistic member of the
Although I don't say that's pessimistic.
Actually, you want to think about pessimistic. I was listening to you guys talking about going through the flash drives and listening to the shows in the future. I just imagine that intern listening to the show and going, what's professional wrestling?
Yeah, they'll say, wasn't there once a thing called the WWE?
Dan, I actually read a quote from you today in something I was going through.
Oh, really? What was that?
The Matt Watch 1991 annual farewell issue thing.
Oh, my good friend Steve Beverly, yes.
Yes, where you referred to it as, what was it, that weekly letter from home.
Yes, yeah. I really loved Matt Watch. Matt Watch was probably the number 2 newsletter back in the 1980s. And the irony about that whole thing, I was going through, I got an email, as I always do, from this guy that does a internet radio show talking about television and game shows, and he interviews people. And one of his guests on this Friday's show is actually Steve Beverly.
Really?
Because Steve Beverly has had a website after he got sick of wrestling and bailed on it.
TVGameShows.net.
TV game shows, and he's going to be on talking about that. So I'm definitely thinking about giving a call when he goes into because it was a lot of fun. He was a very nice man, and I used to sometimes I would get information that what actually happened was this is funny. There was a guy who was a correspondent on there named Chris Crosby, and that was actually me. And occasionally I would get some information or something that I wanted to pass on, but I wanted to kind of protect my identity, which is not that hard to do actually, because there's very few people know who I am anyway.
And there was even on the indie scene here, there was a hint of kayfabe where people got really paranoid if they thought you were talking smart.
They still would. And what actually happened was I wound up getting into a screening of No Holds Barred about 2 months before it came out.
I like that. I like that sound effect Bix just made. It had a Jacob Marley feel to it.
And there were about 8 people in there, including Jesse Ventura.
Really?
Yeah. And I sat there, as everybody else did, in just abject horror. Yeah, abject horror is more closely to it.
Aww.
Just that how bad this thing was. And when the film ended, I kind of made sure I was behind Jesse as we walked out. And he turned to the person he was with and said, "Well, that was interesting, wasn't it?" So I had said to Steve, because also I had gotten in through my work, and I didn't want anything to lead back to there. I didn't want them to think that one of their clients was was having their film made fun of by somebody. So I did that. But that was, oh God, I could not believe how bad that film was.
You know what? When I think back on that film, it seemed like a porn flick from the 80s, but without the sex. From the hairstyles to the music, everything. The bad acting, it was like 80s porn, but without money shots.
Now, before I challenge Dan's review, though, I need because I had to put down the phone for a second. I just need you to backtrack. Whose show is Steve Beverly going to be on tomorrow?
It's Showcase Radio.
Okay.
And if you take a look, he does an internet radio show and has a lot of really good guests on with Old Time TV. Let's see if I can get a chance to, I'll send you the link. Just in case. So
now, you were talking about Steve Beverly's newsletter being a letter from home. Could you kind of describe because I only saw one or two issues. Could you describe just the nature of the newsletter and what it covered?
What it basically did was something a little bit different than what the Observer was doing. Matt Watch was basically covered how television presented wrestling. It would review each of the shows, and there were several to choose from back then. And he would have the lines of the week, the best lines coming from certain, and he also was very heavily into ratings back then. So it was more like a TV guide for professional wrestling. I mean, he would review all the shows, no matter how big or small. What the results were, what the ratings were, what the best lines were, and then if there was anything going on, in the media involving wrestling, then he would basically cover that. He did it when we had Danny Wolf on, when he was talking about all the stuff that was going on down there with all the Memphis shows and the Continental. He would cover a lot of stuff like that, more like behind the scenes, more so than actually who's who and what's what and that kind of stuff and results.
Well, one thing I remember when it was you, me, Johnny Legend, and a few other people were heading to a Tijuana show. I remember you guys discussing the newsletter and talking about he took time to actually watch the Win tapings, Red Bastine's Lisa Libre group. And was he the one who said that Crazy 33 was one of the greatest heels he had seen?
Yeah, he said it was one of the greatest heels. He also had the great line where he said, "I wonder what the first Crazies 1 through 33 were like."
That's great. That was him who said that, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that line. That was awesome.
Exactly, and it was funny because that was the time.
Disappear for a second. Hold on.
Oh, okay. We'll just sit here in silence for a minute till this. No. But what I remember, what I liked about it so fondly was that Steve actually had. He would occasionally, when he had questions, and probably Dave was probably the only guy, and maybe Wade Keller at that point doing the torch. He would actually call up like WCW or whatever and ask them questions. And he oftentimes talked a lot. He was talking a lot to who was the pizza guy? Hurd. When he was the guy. Yeah, he was the guy who made his money in pizza. Yeah, and Beverly.
And he accidentally got him fired.
Yeah, he did.
Wait, what's this? I
let me pull it up. I actually have it right in front. I have the book right in front of me, but let me
go ahead. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
It's a great story.
Yeah, while I find it, I do need to challenge your review of No Holds Barred.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
How can you say anything bad about a movie where Hulk Hogan scares a limo driver so badly that he literally craps his pants?
Yes.
Then says, "What's that smell?" And he says, "Dookie." And then Hulk Hogan says, Dookie, and where Kurt Fuller calls Rip a jockass.
Yeah.
Not a jackass, a jockass. Where Stan Hansen makes fun of a nebbish Jewish television executive at a trough urinal by saying he has a tiny wanger.
Well, the Stan Hansen thing I was fine with. It was just, it reminded me of all those movies that whenever they make movies about professional wrestling, especially at that time, if they wanted to get professional wrestlers involved with them, they had to completely kayfabe. So the movie always came off crappy because of that. If they wanted to do something that was like a little deeper than that, they would never have anybody involved in wrestling help them. But what I remember the most about No Holds Barred was...
the man who did a commentary on Racket Girls.
That's right. But see, that's different. I'll tell you why, is because Racket Girls, because I think what they wanted No Holds Barred to be was to be something like a Santo film. Because, it's like, I got to run back and wrestle for this to make money for this orphanage or something really quick.
Boy, did they fail.
Yeah. And that was the thing, was it had none of the charm of Racket Girls. It had none of the charm of a lucha film or any of that stuff. It just was one of those big old steaming piles of crap that Vince would put together. And I call him Vince because we're very close. No. Vince would put together...
I'm going to call in later today.
He's going to call it, I want to speak to Dan Farren, you're fired. It was one of those things where it's like, I'm going to show you that I can put any piece of crap together and people will go see it because this is what we do, it was just the beginning of a long line of horrendous films for Hulk Hogan.
Oh, my God, it sucked. The only one that sucked worse than that was that Mr. Nanny. I would watch Racket Girls 5 times back to back, and rather than watch. Oh, jeez.
That lineup.
Mr. Nanny does not have the subtle charm of No Holds Barred.
It did. But like I said, it did not have the '80s porn charm that.
Well, actually, I will say this for it. Any film that had, spoiler alert, Kurt Fuller, who was the Ted Turner-ish type heel or whatever, the villainous guy, who dies when he backs into a 3/4-inch videotape machine and is electrocuted. I had no idea those machines were so dangerous. That you could actually bump into one of these. I mean, I've bumped into those machines before, and I always jump half a foot thinking that, I'm going to, be electrocuted or burst into flame any second.
That's right. In Chuck Shepard's News of the Weird, doesn't he have frequent mentions of people, meeting their demise against those machines?
Yeah, exactly. I would sit through Mad Bull.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
Sit through No Holds Barred again.
Boy, did that suck.
That's a Alex Karras movie?
The only reason to watch that is if you can get it on tape and just skip through 90% of it, but you can catch little tidbits with wrestlers of the day from 1977 in Los Angeles. Like I think the Hollywood Blondes were in it.
Yeah, I think Adrian Adonis is in it also.
Oh, what? Oh, really? That's right.
I think he as Keith Franks. Yeah.
Yes, Tom Jones. You get a few glances at. Oh. Whoa, that was even bad for a TV movie. Well,
I will say this though. What they did was they got right up to the edge and almost said we're going to try to go quote unquote behind the scenes, and then they just completely chickened out. So it was kind of half-assed. You got a hint of what they were trying to do, and then they didn't, and then they didn't really do it, so. I still think the best film about professional wrestling is a film yet to be made, and I think The Wrestler came close with at least Mickey Rourke's performance, which I thought was dead on. Some of the story, the trouble was it turned into Rocky midway through, which is just not what it needed to be. But I think someday somebody will make a really excellent film about professional wrestling, and I think that people will be surprised how interesting it actually is.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, I agree. It's yet to be made. It'd be great to see what era it covers, whether it's present day, 80s, or something before that. Because
I actually think that if Dave Meltzer were to sell the rights to the story that he wrote about the Montreal screw job, and of course this could never be made because of all the people involved, but I think that story is, when I read the story originally, and I still read it, I read it like, it's like the night before Christmas. I usually read it at least once a year. But it's an interesting enough story that would lend itself to being a movie, and it would be just a bang-up movie, I think.
There are several wrestler bios who I think could be the best wrestling film ever made. Well, one Meltzer wrote about that wasn't a wrestler, but roller derby star Ann Calvello was such a compelling bio that he wrote on her.
On that note, King Curtis.
Well, King
he
Curtis
would be great.
Was excellent.
Dr. Jerry Graham.
Dr. Jerry Graham is another one. Junkyard Dog, the story, at least the way the story was set up through Dave's obituary, you take a guy who basically had reached the pinnacle in the career, and then eventually was working as a Walmart guard.
Yes.
Let's face it, of course, the great Shakespearean tragedy of the Von Erichs, right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
To make that one to make that a biopic and get the public to buy that it happened. I mean,
yeah, exactly. If that's the hardest part, people would sit there and say, "I don't believe this."
Yes.
This couldn't have happened, But at least in the meantime, you can spend $40 and wrestle Lacey Von Erich if you buy that video that's on.
Oh,
right now.
What? Wait, what?
You haven't seen this? You probably don't.
No, I haven't.
To.
Oh, you got to see it. You can go on YouTube and get a clip of it. But,
there's a trailer on YouTube. It's okay. It's sold through. It's for $40, and I don't even know if this is a DVD. I believe it's just a download.
I think it's just a download, yeah.
For a mere $39.95, and I am not making that figure up, you can buy what is basically a point of view cuckolding and then woman beating revenge video.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Where basically, she hits the guy in the balls, and then he just beats the crap out of her for the rest of the match while holding a camera.
Is this sold by Ronco?
No, by yet.
How's the video, Dan?
It's probably sold by any TNA fans that had to sit through her matches, but no. Ringdivas.com, a fine purveyor in material that you can...
Dan, aren't you here to give us a review?
I downloaded it 3 times now. As soon as I finish with it, I'll let you know. No, but actually, also what's strange and horrible too is they have a listing. Like, for example, if there's anything that you particularly want to see, it says what Lacey will do to you, and then it lists the things: kick you in the balls, do this, punch you, do this, and then what you do.
Classic.
What you do to Lacey.
They must have made a ton of money off of that.
Yeah, it says what you do to Lacey, and it's like choke her, like pull her hair, punch her in the stomach, all these things, and it crosses that line into creepy and back again. It really does.
Wait, how does it cross back?
Yeah. Oh God, it's just.
No, how does it cross back? I don't.
I think this is a catalyst to a new marketing strategy we could all come up with. Can we top that? I mean,
where?
Well, yeah, if you had killed her at the end of it, and it sounds like they just came short of doing that.
Oh Lord!
No, I was going to say, how about just with the point of view reversed, with a woman holding the camera and Lucky Pierre as the victim.
Well, he would like that too much. That's the problem.
Yeah, he'd always have that smile on his face, both outside and under the mask. Not with Lacey Von Erich, though. Now, if you see $89.99 billed to my credit card, you'll know that Bull Nakano came out with a version of this.
But see, the trouble with this Bull Nakano, you would get no offense in whatsoever. You would be on
none.
The defense.
I guarantee you,
time.
none. I would be violated with her nunchucks.
Oh, wow.
It would be
it is the Christmas season, and there's nothing more we want to imagine in our minds right now than that. Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that.
I actually wasn't surprised when you started to say that, but I thought you were going to end with hair as opposed to nunchucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Nope, nunchucks, all the way in, screaming, loud, both bull and myself.
Well, let's go. Even though it's sad, I do want to touch back on King Curtis because this was a guy
who...
who...
the last Blog Talk radio show we're having here.
Yeah, exactly. But it was... this is the last Blog Talk radio show? No,
it is,
yes. No, I thought you have... Well, actually, wait, I'm not sure. I thought you had the option that you had to decide now if you wanted the discount, but I think it actually continues to the end of January, now that I think about it.
It ends tomorrow.
Okay, no, is that just for the discount or free in general? I thought I read you... No, I'm saying, I thought you can still do free shows through the end of January.
Oh, you could still do free... I think you could still do free shows for like 30 minutes, though.
No, I mean the longer free shows. I think it's through the end of January or something.
Well, let's wreck this joint. Come on. No.
That's right. Let's take it out. I can just see hard-boiled Haggerty saying, I don't want no trouble around here in my bar.
Yeah.
So we were talking King Curtis.
Yes, King Curtis. Very influential, more so than a lot of people realize.
And you know what's weird? Reading that bio, I never thought about it before, but when you read Terry Funk talking about how he lifted some of his promo style from Curtis, you can see it. I mean, it's not something you ever would have thought of before, but it's just sort of the pacing and the delivery, like King Curtis would be going like Sullivan, and then Terry Funk instead he has the Texas sort of drawl to it in a different tone, but it's still Dusty Rhodes. It's the same rhythm to it.
It's true. When you incorporate something, I mean, some people might call it stealing, but you're not. You're incorporating something from somebody great, and, people like the Sheik and King Curtis, I mean, I think they were the ones who set that trend of, just looking over the top mad where, even the smart fans would say, okay, I think there's a little something out there,
Yeah, I mean, I think also that one of the nice things about it was that these guys all, like wrestlers do all the time, lifted from Curtis, but at the same time, Curtis was very happy to let them do that.
Yeah,
he loved being influential. He loved the fact that this was something that he could pass on.
Yeah,
I think any even half mature mind of the business probably realize that they are not being robbed of, their persona, their gimmick, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is a business where lots of things are borrowed. As Dan, I'm sure you've probably seen it in comedy too. It's not robbery. It's
it's called a homage.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But it's true.
And think about how many guys these days are imitating King Curtis and they don't even know it.
Yes.
Because he basically is the standard bearer for all those twitchy, guys that growl and bark from John Nord on down.
Yeah, some did it well, some not so well, but I mean, and it, like the other character wrestlers, like people like Moondog Mayne, eventually in some areas he went into being a babyface, but still being the maniac, which I think rocks.
Yeah, I think so too. And he was another guy that got his start in Los Angeles, and it's as the years go by, it gets to be rough for fans of the old Olympic wrestling to every year you seem to lose a couple more valuable people. I mean, last year it was John Tolis. This year we lost Kenji Shibuya, Edouard Carpentier, just Hans Mortier recently, who was, along with Gordon Nelson, was Mr. Wrestling and Dr. Death out here in '73.
I remember that tag team, late '73, early '74.
Yeah, I mean,
so many
all
people.
These guys.
I have that MP3, or not the MP3, the CD that Steve Johnson had sent me a few years back of a KCOP Channel 13 TV taping from 1972. Just the audio, but I mean, it was classic to just hear that whole ambiance again. But yeah, it was at the same time just kind of wistful, remembering when this show aired, but also so thinking, wow, so many of these people are not with us anymore. And people our age, 1972 still seems not that long ago.
Yeah, exactly. Also...
72.
What's that?
I don't think I was born back then.
I don't think you were.
I think you were actually built in a castle in Transylvania by Pete Collins. I think
probably.
That's right.
I would think that's probably how it came about.
I have a question about that because I also saw that on there and just died laughing and showed it to my wife and everybody I possibly could. But where does... Now, that's the first time I've ever seen a clip of the monster. So we all the time are talking about what happened to the tapes, what happened to the tapes. Where do you think that came from?
That guy Jellybeans, almost guarantee you, he taped it right off his TV.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all of his stuff. I asked him about it. He won't trade or sell any tapes or DVDs, but he taped all that stuff himself.
Wow. He's the same guy who uploaded a tape from the Olympic for that very short time when the local Latino promotion had TV on Channel 18, KCSI.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They had a half-hour show, and he uploaded several matches, one of Loverboy versus Cosmos when they were, both still rookies. And that was the one that blew my mind more than anything because I thought those tapes were just gone, just disappeared.
Yeah. What I also loved about the monster match was
the monster match. I like
the monster match. Have you ever seen Great Goliath walk through?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Great Goliath walk through a match like he did in the corner there? It was like he just did not want to be there. Great Goliath.
Totally, and actually something that Conan had mentioned when the video was posted. He says, do you notice Goliath is telling this guy everything to do? He was carrying that guy through the gimmick. And I'd love to say I recognize that right off, but no.
Well, wait, how did Goliath end up replacing Pete Collins anyway?
Well, for one thing, Pete Collins was mainly on the mic a lot, and I think Goliath was there for that very reason because the wrestler, Tony Hernandez, was very green. And most likely, I never heard this from anybody, but most likely they knew Goliath as somebody who could literally talk him through a match.
Yeah, and he was connected with Pete Collins too, because at least because Collins was recognized as their informal manager, so it's not that much of a stretch that you would send him out there.
No,
but it just gave Goliath a chance to chew gum for 5 more minutes.
Exactly, his trademark gum. There's one time I'll never forget. One of the matches the Monster was in San Bernardino. And Goliath was in the corner, but what got heat more than the match was, I don't know what a fan said to Goliath, but you're talking about Goliath who got could take all kinds of heat, but somebody said something wrong, and Goliath just left ringside and just went to the guy's face and was daring the guy to stand up. And the guy just looked like he was looking at a ghost, and finally security just led the guy out to safety. But everybody looked away from the Monster and said, man, what on God's name did he say to Goliath? But what I remember most is I was actually there. They debuted the Monster.
Wow.
They debuted him in San Bernardino against Salvatore Bellomo. And, oh man, it was the most disastrous debut I had ever seen. What happened was Bellomo's in the ring, and Jeff Walton walks down, the aisle and says, "Okay, fans, we've been alerted, by the fire department to make certain everybody is sitting down, and no matter what you think of what you're about to see, stay in your seats because I don't know what this thing is. I don't even know if it's human." And even as over the top as Los Angeles wrestling was, the fans were all just kind of, the fans around me were just kind of looking at each other like, what the hell is he talking about? Then out comes the Monster in his Frankenstein getup, and people just broke out laughing.
Well, that's why he said that, because he's afraid that people were going to laugh so hard they were going to roll out of their seats.
That's right. That's right. And people, the first thing people thought was they thought it was Enforcer Luciano under the mask. Yeah. And they're screaming, just take off the mask, Enforcer. And the gimmick was starting to get over. The only problem was they always took it so, not the fans, but the bookers, the people working always took it so seriously because people would go up to various folks and say, so is it Hernandez under the mask? Is it Enforcer? And they'd shake their head and say, oh, we don't know what that is, and the night it got over the best was, and it was a shame this should have been filmed for TV, and I don't know why they didn't, but they had like a $500 challenge to anybody who could last 5 minutes with the monster or something like that. And Tim Talltree was sitting in the I think the balcony section, not the balcony section, but in the sports arena, sitting off in the distance, and he was wearing a really light Levi suit. And he goes running in the ring. He had a T-shirt, under the Levi jacket. And he tears into the monster, and the monster just lays in a few moves, and Talltree just gigged himself so that he bled from head to toe. And I'll never forget my friend Lloyd, who I always went to the matches with them. He and I were both saying, God, this is the stupidest gimmick we've ever seen. And I remember even Lloyd said, okay, this is too hep. And it was. It was the one time that the monster actually did look really creepy. Everybody knew it was Hernandez under there by that time. But, if anybody could make it work, it would be Tim Talltree. And, he was just, like, red all over. It was. But, of course, the most historic appearance of the monster was when he finally wrestled Andre the Giant in a lumberjack match. Now, I don't know if you folks have heard that story.
I have.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, though.
I felt really bad for the monster that night because Andre was not interested, probably not interested in being there at all at that point. I know he's getting really burned out on appearing in L.A., and he just laid into the monster potatoes and broke his ribs. And it was a lumberjack match, and I don't know what the finish was supposed to be, but the monster just took a powder, and people were trying to drag him back to the ringside, and he just shoved them out of the way and made his way back to the dressing room.
Wearing the boots that he had to wear, it's amazing. He could move anywhere or get around at all when you look at those boots.
Yes. I don't know what they were thinking. Well, who knows what they were thinking.
It's interesting, too, because the monster gets a lot of press for that and is remembered as one of those things when you say to any, Olympic fan or anybody who followed out here that long, you say the monster and they just shake their head and they smile. But, I mean, something that was almost as bad was a couple years earlier when they had Lars Anderson as the Bionic Wrestler.
1976 with his... Who was the guy who operated the computer? I think his name was like Manfred Wilson or something.
Something like that. He came out and he had a little thing that looked like, a remote control for a car or something. A little toy car
or something.
Yeah, and he would get in there and Lars would be losing the match and he would hop outside of the ring and then the Manfred would turn the knobs 2 or 3 times and all of a sudden he would have this great power, and he would start throwing this elbow around that would knock everybody out immediately.
Yes. And then the following year, 1977, when, like we were mentioning earlier, Adrian Adonis was Keith Franks, and Roddy Piper did the hypnotism gimmick where he'd wave a watch in front of Adonis's face, and then Adonis would walk like a Frankenstein monster and destroy his opponent.
And he actually did it before Kendo Nagasaki did.
Yep, exactly.
Yes, but you got to admit, Kendo Nagasaki did it right.
Yeah.
And this would have been all cool if L.A. was campy from top to bottom. But, they tried to sell serious wrestling, and then they'd have Piper hypnotizing people, robotic wrestlers, and then a Frankenstein monster. If they went from head to toe with, just, a whole funky feel to it, but...
I wonder who was booking at that time, because it definitely could not have been Leo Garibaldi.
No, in 1981, it was from 1980 until the closing of the promotion. It was Tom Ernesto the whole time, which is probably the longest they went with only one booker that I know of. 1976 and 77. Well, that's a question that Jeff Walton would probably
Yeah. All I can say was for the guys that were booking those shows at that time, the peyote must have been amazing. It must have been amazing.
Where was Kevin Sullivan?
Yeah, exactly.
Did anybody see him walking around downtown L.A. outside the Imperial Hotel? I mean, I'm jealous I didn't think of the monster.
Well, you could always do something, well, they went down, they did all those characters in Memphis anyway, the Christmas monster, they did Frankenstein. I don't think they did a werewolf. I've always wanted to see a werewolf.
Now there was a Memphis Frankenstein or Dr. Frank or whoever's supposed to actually be a monster, though?
Yes. Okay. No, they never pushed him as being a monster. It was they didn't go into a lot of backstory. Lance Russell would do.
Though.
Yeah, Lance Russell would do one of his. Well, what in the world is this?
I don't know, Jerry. I don't know if I trust what you're saying about this guy.
No. That's Jerry Lawler. Yeah, but that's I mean that was the thing that was. There's nothing. Here's the thing: there's nothing really wrong with the monster. The reason why it was the most embarrassing, whatever, was because they did try to sell it as being real. And that's where, if they had just basically brought it in and left it with some guy under this hood or whatever, then nobody would have been as horrified. I mean, they would still have been horrified, but not as bad as they were by, I can't believe, yes, we are wrestling fans, but we're not that stupid.
Right. I even the retards, in San Bernardino was a bunch of codswallop,
Wow, there's a nice politically correct thing to say.
Yeah, come on.
You just insulted an entire city that deserves to be insulted.
I insulted the mentally disabled or the mentally challenged.
Yeah, that's what you jumped to.
Yeah. I mean, how dare you insult the mentally challenged?
San Bernardino? Oh.
San Bernardino. Remember the front rows in that? The only thing that flashes in front of your eyes when you saw that front row was retard.
Actually,
there was no kind way to put it.
Well, you remember what's the old joke about what has 12 legs and 2 teeth? The front row of a wrestling show.
Come on.
Actually, no. Wait a second.
That's right.
How many of the people here have read Bret Hart's book besides me?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Now, was it Edmonton that he's talking about with the that had the mentally disabled fans bust in?
Yes.
Who would then fornicate in the seats when no one was looking and name the kids.
And they would name their kids after the Hart family members.
Right. Yes. Brett, Bruce, etc.
And the biggest irony in that book, in my opinion, is how he just went on this big tangent about how goofy the fans in Tennessee were.
Yeah.
As if he had forgotten that he mentioned all the mentally challenged people who were fornicating, in Calgary. Yeah. Whatever.
If you go to any wrestling show, you're going to find those types of fans.
Exactly. In Oregon, they had it. It was part of the charm to it. I mean, I'll be the first to say.
But I always thought there was something very cruel about taking these poor developmentally disabled people in wheelchairs or whatever, and rowing them right down in the front row where everybody would fall on them and spit and get hit with stuff. That was a very cruel thing to do.
It was,
but you know what? One thing I do want to say is I'll make jokes about those fans in San Bernardino, but a lot of those people were really loyal fans.
Yeah,
they would have done anything for the wrestlers.
Come on, of course they were loyal.
They probably did too.
Yes, this is true. But
Kurt's trying to back.
Well, a lot of them weren't on the top of their game. I mean, in LA, they would get really rapidly into the matches and stuff, and then when Mr. Ito would have a Loser Leave Town next week, they'd say, well, I guess we're not going to see him anymore, and me and my friends who were taught to not to kayfabe and never break kayfabe, would say, well, how do you know he's losing? And then they'd say, well, let's see. He's going to wrestle Chavo in a Loser Leave Town match in Bakersfield, then Mondo in a Loser Leave Town match the next night in Fresno, and then Hector the next night, in Oxnard. And I'd say, do the math, Einstein. And so I'll humbly admit, I was made to look a goof in front of a goofy fan.
You touched upon something there. I went to the when I lived in San Bernardino. I went to the arena from late '74 until for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And one thing that was kind of nice about it was, even though I very rarely ever talked to any of them, but you would see people, the same families, the older man and his young daughter who would bring him each week, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the security cops are always the same two guys. And there was something that was kind of quaint about it, which doesn't exist these days. And everybody knew each other and had the same seats each week, and they would talk to you, and there was something kind of nice about that.
I agree.
That's kind of missing from today.
I agree, and I remember the same old people would say hi to me whenever I went to the matches. How you doing? There was something, and I think that's one of the things a lot of us old timers miss about the old days. There was that down home feel to it.
Yeah, exactly, and they would get, and that was back in the days when you actually could really get heat. I mean, get that kind of I want to kill you type heat. That's not the same as as laughing heat or the drunken heat or the stuff that they get nowadays.
Exactly. This was heat.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting tag teams as far as their rapport with the fans go were Los Gemelos Diablo, the Twin Devils, because they would get really good heat in the ring, but whenever they were in the lobby, the fans just loved them, and they were always really nice to everybody, too.
Yeah. I always remember in San Bernardino there were these two older very white women who would come to the shows, and they'd be very dressed up, and they be
I know who you're talking about.
You too bad. And they hated any of the black wrestlers, whether they were faces or not. They would sit there if SD Jones and Pork Chop beat the Hollywood Blondes, they would fold their arms and shake their heads.
Oh my God!
Even though they would go ahead and cheer for all the other faces, but as long as they weren't black.
Were these the two women who always wore scanty clothes?
No, these were more like Aunt Harriet types from Batman.
Okay, gotcha. Because there were two women, one of whom everybody called Boom Boom. They were women who would wear because everybody called them that. Everybody in the arena, and that's what she answered to too. And they were famous for carousing with some of the older wrestlers who weren't as appealing to the younger crowd there anymore. But they were these two women who wore a lot of makeup and wore these scanty outfits that probably they would have looked good in maybe 40 years earlier. But they were regulars.
Did you bag one?
No, I tried, but I struck out. I almost got to first base.
The only physical confrontation Kurt ever had was with Peter Maivia and Bad News Alan Collage. It sounds like that was the only.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so surprised neither one of those guys came over to apologize to you afterwards.
I don't know this story.
You mean you didn't hear me tell earlier about how I took the bump for Alan Collage when he got thrown out of the ring?
No, please explain, Bix.
No. What? No, I had to read an email I had to read for a second.
Oh, hey, guys. The Claw, that is. The Claw. The Claw.
¿Quién es?
I know, Bix, you had to have gotten that one. The Jack Victory shoot interview.
I've never seen that.
Oh, I'll send you an MP3. Dude, it's the greatest thing ever. And I'm just listening to you guys. You guys are whacked out, and I'm enjoying my high. I appreciate it. I wanted to come on the air and profess to the world that EA MMA is off the fucking hook. I can't put the game down. It's better than any combat game I've ever played, but it's a tremendous game. It's fun.
Now,
I know I was zoned out for a second, but I don't know who this is.
It's Kid Zombie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't paying attention. I told you I wasn't paying attention for a minute. I had to take care of it.
And I think he called in because he's getting a contact high from our conversation.
Kurt didn't stop talking, so I couldn't interrupt Kurt.
I know, we probably talked over Fredo how many times in this whole podcast. We got to let him get in here.
Sounds like Observer Radio.
Yeah.
And
what is the act we are doing, guys?
I'm going to throw another one.
Meltzering.
Yes.
One of these days, I'm going to bring it up. Fredo came up with the greatest verb, and one of these days I want to say, what are we doing, guys? And everybody's going to say...
Meltzering.
Yes, we rock.
Boy, I can't wait till we tell Dave that Fredo came up with that.
That was great just now, though, how you were asking us to all say Meltzering at the same time, and then everyone else said it a split second after me, so they Meltzered me.
That's right. Oh, that's the next Lucha World T-shirt, is a T-shirt saying, I've been Meltzered.
Oh, there you go.
Actually, on that note, Fredo, thank you for the T-shirt. I am grateful. It will go into my special collection, which don't get worn.
Oh, that's cool.
But is Dude gonna design more shirts? We need the one with L.A. Park when he ate La Parka.
Yeah, he's gonna do one that Kurt recommended. Kurt suggested, so we're gonna do one.
We have one that is still a tad under wraps, but you guys will be seeing it very soon.
Yeah.
Fredo, the Spider-Man cover was hysterical.
Yeah, it's really good, huh?
With Mystico. Yeah, it was excellent.
That is classic. Yeah. That is a toss-up. I think between that and the L.A. Park illustration, those are a toss-up for the best ones he's done.
Yeah,
the L.A. Park one's the best.
That was amazing.
Down, that's the best. Well, with Lou Perro, begging for scraps was awesome.
Yes.
By the way,
I was going to say, has anybody seen the Bobby Heenan DVD yet?
Larry Park did.
Yeah, I did actually. I love it. I thought it was great.
It sucked.
You really think so?
They could have done so much more.
Well,
as far as storytelling.
What really would have helped it would have been obviously if Heenan was in shape to be able to actually be interviewed.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, because they had to fish out. For God's sakes, they were pulling out clips of Jim Cornette, and how long has that been?
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't even. I mean, they might. I don't know how recent it would be, but I mean, a lot of the stuff with him, it seems like they shot even before they started doing DVDs.
Oh yeah. I mean, what I enjoyed was the matches and the clips and stuff on there. I mean, the documentary was fine, but I loved the fact that most of the matches on there were all AWA stuff. Wow. Mm-hmm. The original Weasel Suit match with Greg Gagne and a handicap match with him and Bockwinkel against Hulk Hogan. And there was a great match with him and Lord Alfred Hayes.
Well, that's one thing is, even though Bobby Heenan wasn't a regular, in-ring worker, I remember seeing him once against Salvatore Bellomo when he first came to WWE, and I was like, man, for somebody who doesn't get in the ring a lot, that guy actually knows how to work. I mean,
that match is on the tape.
It is on the tape. Oh, cool.
On the DVD, yeah.
Because I just sat there saying...
Come on, Meltzer. They're DVDs, not tapes.
I know, I swear. It's old. I can't help it.
Get out of the fucking 80s.
I just last week stopped calling them reel to reel, so don't don't have a time over that.
Well, I'm going to get my audio tape player.
Hey, Bix, how's your beta machine doing?
I haven't used it in a while. I have one, though.
I have one, too. I just don't have any tapes to put in it.
And I also have 2 SVHS.
Now, KZ.
I actually know someone now who has a WVHS machine.
Oh, my God.
Well,
that's like a museum.
Because it was for the special analog HD Japanese thing in the 90s, and some people treasure it because it's supposed to be the best VHS VCR ever.
I got my first VCR in 1980, and that damn thing must have weighed 800 pounds.
And they cost a fortune back then, too.
Yeah, they did. I got mine for $888 on sale, marked down from $1,000.
Man, you could buy 10 DVD players for that price now.
Well, now
they still work now.
Yeah, But you could buy, I saw a Blu-ray for $79 in Ralph's of all places. You could buy a Blu-ray in a grocery store now.
Ralph.
Nothing like naming a place that primarily sells food Ralph's.
Yeah.
That's funny. Go to Big Lots and pick one up.
I'm trying to figure out if that's as bad as White Castle formally adopting the Sliders nickname. Let's see if everyone knows where the name came from.
What name is that?
Sliders. For White Castle burgers. And then people copying them for small burgers. Anyone besides me know where the name came from?
I have no idea. A Peter North video?
It was a nickname given to them because everyone said they gave them diarrhea, that it slid through.
They slid in and slid out. Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know why.
Lord!
They actually formally adopted the name, and now every place that sells small hamburgers has adopted the name Sliders from them.
Oh my Lord!
Adopted it officially, and then everyone else did too.
Oh dear! Oh dear! When truth is stranger than fiction.
But they're also the only burgers where you can buy them in your grocery store freezer, and they're exactly the same as the ones you get at the fast food place. In
fact, the only White Castle burgers I ever had were from a frozen section because we've never had a White Castle out here.
Yeah, I've never had a White Castle.
Yeah. I think you used to be able to get them at Costco.
Out here in the valley, they had a White Castle for a brief amount of time, and it actually didn't do well. It went under.
Amazing. Didn't get that In-N-Out.
Well, yeah, you guys have In-N-Out.
Yeah. We have In-N-Out, though, yeah.
I mean,
when you have In-N-Out, White Castle is a step down.
Yeah.
And then again, right here, we have a couple doors down from, an Italian specialty food shop with its own brick oven pizzas for cheap is a Domino's.
Oh, trip out.
The Domino's was here before the place added pizza, but still, I mean, you have Domino's and Pizza Hut in, all over the New York area.
Yeah.
Which is I guess just because it's almost like a completely different product. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, it is. It's kind of like when you get a McDonald's burger. It's not really a burger. It's an entity unto itself, just like Domino's and Papa John's is.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't even know if I say McDonald's. White Castle is so different from the other ones. So.
This is true. Yeah, you are correct about that.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of any of you guys watch American Pickers on History Channel?
Yeah, I've
seen it. Yeah,
I've been catching up on some of them on Netflix, and there was an episode where they got drawn to a guy's big, farm area because he had an old White Castle on his property.
Wow.
He actually collected old buildings, including a White Castle and the general store that he went to all the time as a kid.
Whoa!
He collected buildings. I mean, he just they went up and lifted the place up and have it moved there?
Yes.
Now,
God, now we know what to do with the Olympic Auditorium.
Exactly. Oh, there you go. You might not be kidding on that one,
Wait, is it for sale again?
I bet it could be if somebody with that kind of clout could get their hands on it. It's a church now.
For sale.
Well, it's also one of the few places they haven't torn down or imploded at this point, which is amazing when you think about Texas Stadium and the Spectrum and all those other places.
It came close in 1987.
Yeah.
Whoever owned it, I can't remember who, they just wanted to unload it, and somebody was talking about, well, let's just level and have a parking lot.
Well, that was the guys that owned it at that point, because that's what their old man wanted to do, because that's where they made their money, in parking lots downtown.
Now, KZ, you're saying you have this new MMA video game?
Yeah, EA MMA. It's insane.
Now, the last video game I ever played was the original Doom, and before that, the original Nintendo, so I'm so out of touch. Now, is this one of these video games where you can create your own characters?
Yes, you create, for the career mode, you create, whatever you want it to do, and then you give whatever style you want them to get, and then they start with higher attributes in that style. Then they go to different dojos. And
then we cut to the chase. I want to create Kung Fu Frankenstein.
Not possible.
They don't go for all that weird stuff like the WWE games do.
I was thinking about buying the game, but now that Kung Fu Frankenstein
I
can't be in it.
I sent you that screenshot that you probably could do it in the WWE game, because I did a Vandal Drummond and Lucky Pierre. Remember I sent those to you?
Yes, you did. And that's awesome, but I'm talking MMA. If Kung Fu Frankenstein went to MMA, nobody could choke him out. He's already dead.
Actually, wait a second, though. Did the last Fire Pro game have a Frankenstein head?
I think it did.
Well, yeah, and that has multiple MMA modes.
That's right.
You can get Fire Pro returns for
got to get
Fire Pro. You can get that game for like $5.
Yeah,
and look around.
You can probably get a used PS2 for what, $60 now?
Yeah,
gentlemen, I think we're on to something.
And you can make Kung Fu Frankenstein there.
I already have it, and I never played it.
And then what you can do is, we were talking about sliders, Kurt. I think we have found another identity for you, because I love the fact that the sliders were originally burgers, and then you start seeing things like crab cake sliders and everything. But I did see something sometime that was called a pork slider. So I think that you should wrestle under a hood as Pork Slider.
Pork Slider? Is he the unknown son of Pork Chop?
I think he might be the unknown son of Peter North, but go ahead.
Pork Slider. Oh, classic. We're covering some great material here, guys.
Yeah.
For the final Blog Talk Radio appearance, I think we're coming across some good stuff.
Not the final, dude. Come on.
I mean, no, only for Blog Talk Radio. No, this is not the final Slammin' Stand.
You'd know better, though, Zombie. Is it just that tomorrow's the deadline for the discount?
Vic doesn't trust me.
Yes. Tomorrow's the deadline for the discount.
Vic doesn't trust me. I mean, I just said that like 3 times.
I saw the letter when you I saw the letter when Zombie posted it.
I know, and I'm telling you, tomorrow's the last day for the...
Or one of you posted it. It might have been Fredo actually posted it.
No, it was Vic.
It's the last day for the $30 per month.
Wait, per month or per year?
Special.
I thought it was per year.
No.
Per month.
Oh.
30 per month.
Now I understand why no one wants to do it.
Or $300 for the whole year.
I saw some people say that they would, but yeah.
And then they will, the Nazi shit will come into play February 1st.
The thing is, a lot of people were just jumping on Kid Zombie for what he was bringing up, and they didn't bother reading it.
Yeah.
So it's like, they don't get it's free. I mean, we're not making money off of it, like telling you, hey, pay $9.95 for, we'll write a newsletter and we'll do a podcast. No, you're getting it for free.
Exactly.
We're actually putting money out of our pocket to do it, not like, we're asking you to do it.
Well, the first thing I ought to do is
pay $9.95, you can even hear Todd Martin.
Yeah, if they're going to make you pay for it, they at least want to make it sound like that you're not listening in on a 4-way phone call, which is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing
Zombie,
is,
what are you going to do?
Blog Talk, charging in February is not going to hurt, my show because, with RadioDDT.com, we have, ways to do things through our website. It's the people that don't have the money, that don't have, the equipment and whatever. There's some good shows out there that are going to get slaughtered, and it's fucked up. And I mean, they should at least honor those of us that have been there for a while. I mean, about 150 shows under my belt, 3+ years. I mean, I should at least grandfather in. Give me some type of a decent rate, even.
Yeah.
But
if I'm someone like TalkShoe, if I'm one of the people at TalkShoe or any other site that does a similar thing, I would be, trying to blanket, as much advertising as I can over the next month or two.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Is it TalkShoe free?
TalkShoe is free. TalkShoe is free.
Right
I mean, they have a paid version too, like Blog Talk always did. I haven't used it though, but I know some people have used it and that they've liked it, and I believe it doesn't have the weird scheduling stuff you get with the free version of Blog Talk.
Well, the thing is that people will come out. They'll find out. People will find different ways, either by Ustream or other different ways where they'll be able to. I think it's a big mistake that they're making. I think it's a real big mistake.
Kurt and I are going to do it on a tape recorder.
That's right. I have my old reel-to-reel.
Reel-to-reel, yeah.
Where I used to hold the microphone up to my TV when I was 10 years old.
Then we'll release mixtapes.
Exactly.
Of Kurt talking about all this random stuff that he's talking about.
Yeah. Speaking of random stuff and stuff off topic of pro wrestling, I'm wondering if, since we have a bunch of us on the line, if anybody is familiar with the 70s disco dance or Euro dance band Boney M.
I know of them.
No.
I
know them a little bit. I told you this when you mentioned this to me earlier.
Yes, that's right. Because I do want to mention the passing of Bobby Farrell, who was I put in quotations, vocalist for the band. And the reason I say that was Boney M was a 1974 creation by Frank Farian. And if that name rings a bell to everybody, is he did a lot of interesting creations. In my opinion, Boney M is probably the best of, all his, all of his little inventions. But what he will always be remembered for was he is the guy who created Milli Vanilli. And I think we all know the story of what happened to Milli Vanilli. Boney M was.
No, it's true. I love you. Hey,
yes.
I'm going to hop off the line, but before I go, Vandal the Handle, you need to email me your mailing address, please. I have a Freddie Mercury documentary that's been collecting done.
I will do that. Yes, thank you.
Hey, are you still going to try to come down for the Wrestle Reunion next month?
I cannot make it.
Oh man,
my boss is going on a cruise, so I have to cover. I cannot make it.
I can dig it, but I think we're going to have to travel up north so we can visit you.
Yeah, no shit. Come
we do have to meet you in 2011, my friend.
Yeah.
Well,
get me that mailing address.
What's that?
What was that? Oh no, you were thanking me.
Yeah, I was thanking you. Yes, thanking you for calling in, and thank you for all the stuff you've done on Blog Talk Radio. You have some classic acts on there. That was really some cool stuff.
Yeah,
you've had
a couple really good months too, Casey. There's been some really good people on your show.
Yes.
Well, there's more to come. Believe me.
Yep.
They're in my bag.
We look forward to it. Please keep us posted, and we shall talk to you soon, my friend.
All righty, guys. You take it easy, and remember, support your fucking indies.
You got it.
There you go. Happy New Year, man.
Now, Boney M was not quite Milli Vanilli. Frank Farian, who created these groups, interesting guy. I think he's a guy who wanted to get over as a performer, and didn't, so he kind of created, different acts and kind of jumped in on them. Boney M consisted of Bobby Farrell, who passed away in St. Petersburg after a concert last night, and there were two women in the band, Marcia Barrett and Liz Mitchell, who were these very beautiful but on the cusp of being handsome women in the late 70s. It was, kind of an androgynous, look of the group, with Bobby Farrell having a very feminine look and the women having a lovely but very handsome look to them. And the most amazing thing is, while Bobby Farrell was the daddy cool of the group and looked great on all the videos, it was Frank Farian's voice you heard on all their recorded material. Apparently, Bobby Farrell, unlike Milli Vanilli, actually did sing in concerts, but Farian just had to have his voice in there for some reason. In fact, I just pulled up a picture of Frank Farian at age 69, and has an odd resemblance to one of the Von Erichs. I don't know. Creepy.
Which one?
David.
Which one? Oh, the dead one. Yeah. Oh, which one's that? No.
It wasn't Mike, right? Was it Mike? Did he look like Mike?
He looks like Mike or David. A little in between. If one of them had made it to being in their late 60s, it'd probably look something like this guy.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that Wrestling Observer interview with Bill Apter?
Yes, I did.
Where he was talking about how some people used to call him the fourth Von Erich.
Yes.
I thought, what about Mike? I didn't want to include him.
Oh, poor Mike.
I made me laugh when I heard that.
I mean, you want to feel bad for all the Von Erichs, but there's something extra sad about Mike and Chris there.
Yeah, he was like the ugly one.
Yeah. But anyway, this group Boney M was an awesome group, and despite the fact that Frank Farian would steal Bobby Farrell's thunder, Bobby Farrell was really, really cool, and so I just want to really briefly mention his passing. Weird irony that one of their biggest hits was this song called Raw Rasputin, Lover of the Russian Queen. And Mr. Farrell passed away in Russia last night. Does anybody remember that song from the 70s?
No.
Not even you, Dan?
Not even me, buddy. I'm sorry.
Well, like, this is the funny thing. I probably wouldn't have discovered, who Boney M was, but they did a cover of the song of Bobby Headley's song "Sunny" that was featured in Boogie Nights.
Oh, that song. Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah, and so I decided I'm going to look who they are. And when I found out it was Boney M, I'm saying, who's Boney M? And then I saw that they did the song Rasputin, and my jaw dropped because I remember hearing that song once before, and I can tell you the exact date. It was on the evening of December 31st, 1979, in a Latin disco in Anaheim. New Year's Eve, when I was 16, had a huge fight with my parents because they wouldn't let me go with my friends to, get drunk and stoned, at the Rose Parade on New Year's Eve that night. So I stormed out.
They let you go to a Latin disco?
I know, seriously.
They wouldn't let you go to the Rose Parade, but you could go to a Latin disco?
I know.
Well, here's the thing. My parents suggested I go with these really nice girls. These two girls named Ruth and Eunice, who were both Chinese, and I think my parents saw some stereotype about them being, very good subservient girls. And at the time, Eunice was, but her sister Ruth. Unbeknownst to my folks, ran with a faster crowd, and this crowd went to this Latin disco, and I was 16, but probably looked 13. For some reason, not only did they let me in, but one of the people there bought me a drink, a 7 and 7, which I did not know it was, but it made me feel damn good, and I guess I was damn funny drunk. And so they kept buying me 7 and 7s, which I kept chucking down over and over and over. And at some point I went from cheery to a foul mood, and I went outside to try to call my big brother, who I'd always vent all my troubles to. And some Latino guy saw that I was upset and was offering me a ride home, the nice guy. But before he did that, he gave me a hit of his joint, and I took a hit, and I noticed it seemed a little odd smelling, and he says, "Oh, it's good stuff. It's PCP." And I'm like, "Oh, shit." And then he said, "Come on, I'll give you a ride anywhere." And I just, naive as I was, I said, "I have to go back into the disco and get a little dancing in."
Why didn't you tell me to take you to the Rose Bowl?
What's that?
You should have told me to take you to the Rose Bowl. Why did you go to the parade?
That's right. Oh, dear. So I went in there, and at this time I was barely conscious, but I remember hearing in the background, "Rah, rah, Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. There was a cat that really was gone." So here it was, like almost 30 years later, no, probably more like 25 years later, and I say, those are the guys who did Rasputin. So I had a flash
story to involve you almost taking angel dust.
Well, actually, I did inhale a bit, I guess, thinking it was just, the evening could have ended a lot worse, but it still ended pretty badly because I ended up puking all over myself. And these nice people decided it was time to leave the disco, and I figured, okay, they'll take me home. No, they had a party to go to. And so they had this guy who was extremely sick at the party. I didn't know if they think this would help them pick up women, seeing a guy with vomit on him. And finally, the guy who threw the party was the only bright mind of the night, saying, "You got to get this kid home. This kid is really sick." And so I came home at 3 a.m., and my parents were awake and just looked me up and down. And at some point, I lost my shoes, too. I can't remember how.
Oh, God.
And they just saw me covered in vomit. And usually I was, whenever I came in after we had some sort of argument, I'd be scared to death of them. But I was feeling so miserable, I just looked at them and I said, "I do not want to talk about it." And they actually said, "Okay, go to bed."
Almost every story involving Vandal Drummond always ends in vomit.
Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is this something you look back on fondly when you remember it?
Now, Dan, you know the answer to that more than anybody on this phone line. You do know. You're the one who got me into Story Salon. So I have to look back on it fondly, because wouldn't this be bitching at Story Salon?
Oh, it'd be great. I just can imagine it's like, you're sitting there, it's New Year's Eve, 2010, you go, I remember that night I got really drunk, lost my shoes, and probably was molested. What a wonderful night that was.
All of Kurt's
No, fortunately, I do remember everything from that night, because what's the lie most people talk about when they said I was so drunk? The lie is, I don't remember a thing. 95% of the time, that's bullshit. They remember everything and don't want to admit it.
I just imagine somebody was listening to the show, went to the bathroom, came back, and are going, "Is this the same show? Is this a different show on afterwards?"
And it's a tribute to Bobby Farrell, who passed away. I know it's 6 degrees of separation here, but come on.
It started off as a tribute to this man, but it ended with you shoeless and drunk. I try to figure out where the bridge there was.
Oh, now also, I need something clarified. Was it straight PCP, or was it a joint laced with PCP?
A joint laced with PCP.
Okay,
that makes a difference.
Yeah. So when you think about it, who knows if it was the booze that made me sick, or what was ever in that joint.
Or it could have been the fact you were in a Latin disco in Anaheim.
Yeah, probably that.
Now, come on, who else can say they let me in when I was 16 and served me all the alcohol I would drink?
Well, it depends if you had a fake ID or not.
I didn't. And then when I was 19 and was even lighter at the time, I was probably about 110 pounds. I went with Dr. Jerry Graham, Tim Flowers, and Lloyd, and we went into Bakersfield, a gay bar called the Lone Star, because the owner would buy any of the wrestlers' drinks. And I remember Tim Flowers saying, "Doc, Kurt here is not 21, and he looks a lot younger." And Doc's answer, "Stick a cigar in his mouth and say he's a wrestler." So here I am. I look like this Q-tip that has a cigar sticking out of the center. And yes, they let me in. And I drank myself silly that night, but I did not get sick.
Yay.
Yay. Now, if there was any PCP, I guarantee you Doc would have smoked it and says, "Let's see what sort of psychological experiment this can produce."
When this show goes up on air, who writes the recap of it?
Fredo writes the one for Blog Talk, and then I usually kind of email one out. Why do you have a...
I just always laughing because it's almost like, and then the guys were talking about the rest of this, and then they talked about going to a Latin disco in Anaheim and taking PCP. I just imagine somebody would go, "What, is there a jump there? What happened? How did they go from that to that? I don't know."
When I post it on Lucha World, sometimes I'll write it, or I'll have I'll wait till Kurt writes it, then I'll look at Kurt and say, "Okay, that's how it's." Because I'm like,
what I love about this show? This show is actually a perfect representation of how Kurt's mind works.
Seriously.
It's
That's
everything.
Right.
It's like a when you listen to the show, it's like a smorgasbord. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure is I'm assuming that's a good thing.
Oh, it's a positive thing, Kurt. It's
awesome.
Not bad. The story was good. Everything was fine. I'm just laughing how it's all of a sudden like, you're going down the middle of a buffet and you go, "No, I don't want pumpkin pie. I want apple pie." It's just that it's just those choices that are made,
And you want to know something? I have not told that story in years, and it didn't dawn on me until we were just talking. I should do that at Story Salon, shouldn't I?
You should do that, actually.
Okay, I will. For those of you who have not heard before, Story Salon is an awesome spoken word presentation every Wednesday night at the Coffee Fix in Studio City, California. And, when do they start up again, Dan?
Next Wednesday. This Wednesday.
Okay, this Wednesday. It starts at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's an awesome array of slice of life stories, and it's a real great diverse group of writers who do 5 to 7 minute slice of life stories, and they range anywhere from professional writers, people who've written for TV, to just people off the street who wandered in and stumbled upon Story Salon.
Well, it's not that simple to get on the show. I mean,
no, it isn't. No, a better way to say it is there are people who have come in off the street just to watch it, and after they attend for a while, they kind of say, well, maybe I have a good story to tell. And it always impresses me just the breadth of different stories. Some really funny, some very wistful, some somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And I guess since we're plugging Story Salon here, when did it actually start up, Dan? And was it you and Beverly who started it together?
No. Beverly Mickens actually started about 10 years before I came along. I started with it in 1990, 91. No, I'm sorry, not 2000, 2001. Beverly started around 1990 or whatever. So she was the one who has been doing this for years. I just came along about 10 years ago.
Excellent. So there's our plug for Story Salon.
Yeah. And while we're plugging real quick before we go off into the Monsel powder in the sky thing.
Tomorrow's a federal holiday. We should go the whole 2 hours.
the finale for Blog Talk, yes.
The series finale,
We're only a few minutes into the portion that's not being broadcast live anyway.
That's right.
Yes.
But I wanted to throw out a plug for MPW on January 30th.
Yes,
I can,
definitely.
Because it's going to be a really good show. MPWWrestling.com out in Simi Valley, and Tammy Stitch is going to be there, and also the main event, which should just be gangbusters, is Ryan Taylor versus Davey Richards. So
should be an amazing match.
Yeah, it should be, and it should be a great evening all the way around. So I recommend if anybody, like I said, Kurt and I work on it, but still, it's the kind of show that I would go to see even if I had nothing to do with it. So
these are very well constructed shows. Probably my biggest beef about a lot of indie shows is they tend to want to put too much into a show. They don't pace them. They go really lengthy shows. And MPW is really getting the art of, putting a quality show into just a few hours. And really some really good workers, both experienced workers and people still new to the business. But you go there and something, if not everything, will entertain you.
Yeah. And if anybody's coming to Wrestle Reunion, we are going to have a table there. So that'll be someplace that you can come by and visit.
Excuse me? Who's going to be at the table? Are you guys going to have, people...
Tammy Stitch will be at the table.
Oh, just her?
Well, I'll be there.
Oh.
Well, if Tammy Stitch will be there, Dan will be there, right? You wicked, wicked man, you.
Hey, I know what Dan could do.
What?
What's that?
Since I'm sure it shouldn't be too hard, find a wholesaler, someone who still has a bunch of the NBC Secrets of Wrestling tapes.
Hey, there you go. I'll sign them.
Yeah, an autograph.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be awesome.
I jokingly said I still get that once a year somebody will walk up to me and hand me one of those things.
You know what, Dan? I think you should do something with that, seriously. I think that's a good idea.
The only reason I was on the cover of the ad or the cover for the tape at that point, was because basically the referee and the announcer and those guys, they were mostly dealing with the wrestlers, but they had a hole and they needed to plug the hole, and they said, get up there real quick. So I said, oh, okay. So I just crawled up there, and that damn picture has been around for ages. That was the one that was in TV Guide even. I can even say I was in TV Guide.
It was classic. It stuck out far more than any of the wrestlers. Because, I mean, you've seen wrestlers with all these disguises for years. How many referees have you seen, with such a funky mask? And then when you watch it, there's that disguised voice, which is classic. Because it's like if they made a Dan Farren robot. You still recognize that voice anywhere.
Yeah. I love that was the classic thing though I talked about. They digitized all the voices, and then when I'm in the ring, they didn't do anything, so you hear my actual voice.
That was classic. I love it. And then the other most obvious disguise was Danny Wolf with his Lone Ranger mask.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck, as I call it. That's what he looked like. He looked like Darkwing Duck. It's almost as good as they. The funny thing about it is when Harley Race was on there, they digitized his voice, but it sounded the same.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I got the feeling when they have Harley Race there as the booker, that with the way they made his hair look and having put on weight and stuff, I got the feeling they were trying to make it look like he was Dusty Rhodes.
Well, the people putting it together weren't smart enough to realize that, and he was a last-minute addition, too. So,
that would have been funny, though, if Harley Race went up to you and said, they want me to say something about if you will.
That's could you imagine that though? They're trying to hide, like it's Dusty, and they're trying to hide, and so they digitize the voice, and you keep hearing "in public, if you will," like that. It's like there's certain things those guys say that you can't disguise. You know what? I was reading I even read the Goldust book, Crossroads.
And what were your impressions?
I like the guy, but it's just kind of a bland book. There's nothing really. It's interesting. I'm glad that he was able to get through his demons and everything, but there's nothing in the book that it's well put together and well written and all that stuff, and it's very short. You can read it in an afternoon. I downloaded it onto my iPhone, so actually it was only $9, so it was a lot cheaper than if you bought it in the store. But the thing about it is that it's just, sometimes when you read these books, there's certain things that pop out, and they're selling points and stories and whatever. And he glosses over the stuff so quickly that there's really nothing that stands out. The only thing that I think everybody always figured that he does talk about is that at the time that they were creating Goldust, one of the reasons why he did want to go ahead and do it was because of the fact that he and his father were estranged at that point, and he knew it would piss him off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he was really cool when he left WWF, and at least this is the legend I've heard, is that he felt the character was going nowhere or something along those lines, and he wanted to kind of, boost the shock factor by getting breast implants. Yeah,
there's nothing mentioned about that at all. I was wondering about that also. I mean,
yeah, so I'm not the only one who had heard that tale.
No, he basically he slides through his own. I mean, literally within like 20 pages, he covers like leaving WWE, going to someplace else, and going back to WWE. So I mean, he's one of. I think what's happened is because his recovery has been so important to him, he spends a lot of time kind of talking about that more than he does actually wrestling. So I think a lot of people who pick up the book expecting it to be like a very funny book or a very, a book with a lot of road stories in it are going to be kind of disappointed. It's not a bad book, but there's just nothing. It's just you just kind of go, I read it, okay,
right,
okay.
Well, with so many wrestling bios being out today, it's like if you're going to write something on wrestling, I think you have to have something really fascinating or from a really different spin or different vantage zone. I mean, it's so much has been written.
I mean, he certainly could have been fascinating.
Oh, it could have been. It really could have been. I mean, but I also think that there's been so many books out there, and I've even Mick Foley's third book, basically pretty well kind of died on the vine because
fourth book.
Fourth book? Oh, well, it's the third book of his autobiographies, right?
No, it's his fourth.
Was it really his fourth? Well, yeah. But the thing was, I mean, it was fine, but it felt like he was running out of things to talk about.
Now, I took out from the library, and And I couldn't. It was a lot of it was hard to read. I just didn't even bother to read any of the TNA stuff.
Yeah.
Now, somebody who should keep writing books, even if they're not about wrestling, is Dutch Mantell.
Yes.
I think that guy is a born storyteller. I think eventually it'll run its course if he keeps doing wrestling, but he's one guy I actually think could write fiction, and if he just kind of sharpened up his editing skills, I think he would be an awesome storyteller.
The best thing about his stuff is that he has a good sense of humor about it. He doesn't take anything too seriously, and that really helps when you look at hey, it's wrestling, it's vaudeville,
And he's on my top 5 of guests I like to hear on Figure 4.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, my favorite is Bruno. I love when Bruno comes on. It's like a happiness drug when you listen to one of those episodes. Jerry Jarrett is another favorite of mine.
It's so Dr. Lucha shows.
And also, he doesn't. I mean, he's starting to get a little more credit for it now, but he still doesn't get nearly enough. He was a hell of a worker at his peak.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Dutch?
Yeah.
Oh, he was a great
Dutch
worker.
Was great. I mean, he was, whether it was a heel or a face, he could stir him up, and then he had the bullwhip shoe baby with him all the time. I mean, and that great, I remember how Lawler used to, when they were feuding down in Memphis, kept referring to him as Yosemite Sam. But I remember there's a classic Memphis show where it was supposed to be, I think it was Dutch and Lawler, and Dutch wanted a special referee, and they spent literally the entire show, people coming up, Dutch, I'll do it. No, I don't want you to do it. To keep going and going. And I think it was Ricky Morton that came up to him at one point and said, Dutch, I'll do it. And then Dutch thought for a second and then slapped him so hard across the face that, no, I don't want you either.
That's great.
Plus, also, he was one of the few wrestlers that never shaved his back. So, hey.
Wait. Are you telling me he didn't wrestle in a sweater?
That was always the joke. That was always the great joke, yeah.
Now, I know we're very soon going to be approaching that 2-hour mark, and actually we normally wouldn't have had the show go to
17 whole minutes.
Yes, we wouldn't have. We try to avoid these 2-hour shows, but since this is officially the last blog talk show. I'm sorry, what's that, Fredo?
You guys don't talk to Kurt after the show. That's why you guys think it's short. I have to talk to Kurt after the show, and it's like another half hour. Am I right?
Oh, well, the cool thing is this night I don't have to go do laundry after the show. I actually have tomorrow off, so does Elena, so we're going to go out and party.
Oh, cool.
What we call partying.
Are you going to go down to a Latin disco?
Yes, exactly, where they're now playing ABBA hits,
Take your shoes off now.
I can only have a ballad here or a song. Vandal takes his shoes off, But since we only have a little time here, Bix, you IM'd me before the show, and
actually, you know what? I need to switch phones. Let me run to the other room.
Okay,
the battery's dying.
This is awesome. This is great. Tonight, David Bixenspan is playing the role of Black Gordman and Goliath, making those awesome heel tags, trading one foreign object for another. This is cool.
Okay.
Is he back?
Yeah, there I am. Sorry.
Okay.
And what were you saying?
Okay, now you emailed me a great advertisement for an ICW wrestling show circa 1980, and I actually don't remember that particular challenge, but I remember a very similar one from a year before. Fill the people in.
Too. I mean, they would do it instead of local promos on the TV sometimes.
And probably a newspaper ad got more word out than their weak TV show that they did.
Right, for those unfamiliar, they ran opposite, as opposition outlaw group against Jarrett, and they'd always issue these open challenges, and this one takes the cake. The idea was that Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr., and Ron Garvin, being probably the toughest guys in the territory, challenged Jerry Lawler, Jimmy Valiant, Jerry Jarrett, and Bill Dundee, so they felt they could do it, with a man down, to a $30,000 triple charity challenge. And it gives the conditions of the $30,000 triple charity challenge at Rupp Arena. If Lawler, Valiant, Jarrett, and Dundee win, they will receive a total of $15,000 plus an additional $15,000 will be given to United Cerebral Palsy. Also, Ronnie Garvin, Bob Orton Jr., and Bob Roop promised to shave their heads in the ring and never wrestle again for the rest of their lives.
My God, so we might not have seen Ronnie Garvin as WCW champion or Bob Orton Jr. involved in the first WrestleMania. What could have happened?
If Lawler, Valiant, Jarrett, and Dundee lose, ICW will pay $4,000 in a consolation prize to the United Cerebral Palsy Fund and their transportation expenses to and from Rupp Arena, plus any hospitalization or psychiatric expenses related to the May 20th humiliation. Now, if Lawler, Valiant, Jarrett, and Dundee do not show up, they will receive nothing, and United Cerebral Palsy will receive nothing. Some people care more about their own health than the health of those afflicted with cerebral palsy. Remember, superheroes, you have nothing to lose but a bucket of yellow paint, a chicken, a diaper, and a baby bottle. As Adolf Rupp said many times, the glory is not in the winning, but in the trying.
Now, in the bizarre world of wrestling, I think that is the all-time most out-there advertisement I have ever seen. That just takes the cake. Bix, I think it is your duty to email this or post it everywhere you can. I think you should send it to Meltzer and Alvarez and just everybody. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's another one I love. On top of that, one of the big spectacles at this show is, in addition to all these really cool matches, plus the wedding of Mr. Stephen Cooper to Miss ICW 1980, Dawn Griner.
I didn't even notice that. I skipped over that.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, God. And fans, turn in your receipts and we will reimburse your gas. Yeah, they've covered everything but that.
Where this was posted, it was claimed that Angelo Poffo did give some money to United Cerebral Palsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
The guy who was known as the miser.
Yeah.
That was such a bitter war down there. Man, I mean, someone should write a book about that. That's
what we need here in L.A. We need a bitter war between NPW and some other promotion.
I think you got something going there.
Right? Like,
okay, so...
calling out Dan Farren and all those
Dan Farren has everything to gain and nothing to lose if he shows up to the challenge versus, Fern Owen.
Yeah, Dan Farren is cerebral palsy.
If Dan Farren loses, he will be forced to catch cerebral palsy. That's what'll happen. Yeah. Dan Farren has spent his entire life with everything to lose and nothing to win. So that's you're not gonna get me down there on that. That's something.
Oh Lord. Man, Bix, I want to thank you for that because you don't see stuff like.
Very welcome.
Well, you don't see stuff like this every day.
Since you said that's the most out there wrestling advertisement you've ever seen, have you ever seen the infamous one from the 20s about a small gorilla in a wrestling battle royal with 7 colored boys?
Oh my God!
Oh my Lord! Oh my Lord!
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you that too.
Oh, do send me that.
Wow.
I think we have a road show here, guys. I think we could make a whole museum of just how whacked out the biz has always been.
Boy, I thought
it was the 20s. It might be from a little later, but...
Boy. I thought calling people in San Bernardino retards was bad, but boy.
No, man, it just keeps...
Now, that was actually, though, that's not billed as high up as brought back by top popular demand, Boxing Gorilla to box a colored fighter and others for $1,000 reward.
Lord. Oh, my
if you can knock out Joe the Boxer. Offer open to anyone, either pro or amateur.
Now, although this wouldn't look wild to strange on paper, one of the things that I always heard was one of the strangest spectacles. And again, I hate to say anything about Pete Collins because he was such a good guy, but I'll never forget seeing the advertisement for San Bernardino, a chain match between Wild Tom Renesto versus Pete Collins. Now, yes, this was Tom Renesto, who was formerly the Assassin, but now he was,
Wait, how old was he at this point? When was the last time he wrestled?
Oh, my God.
He was old.
He'd been pretty
Pete
much
Collins
retired for a decade, hadn't he? Tim?
Easily.
Yeah,
And, this is, I know he was awesome as the Assassin, but this is way past his wrestling days. And this was a chain match against Pete Collins, who was an elderly man. And I do know somebody who saw the match, and this is a dated reference, but it's worth doing the research. If you're a young kid, just search for any Don Martin comics from Mad Magazine, because they said it looked exactly like a Don Martin illustration, where the people, because they didn't wear street clothes or anything. They wore wrestling tights. And they just said they had that look at people with large noses and extremely big feet, and it doesn't do the same kind of justice that an ICW or a Boxing Gorilla ad will have. But
what was
might
the
about
build
the monster
of that match? Must have been. What was the build of that match? I mean, in those days they would have had to have wrestled a couple times previously to set up a chain match. You would think.
It was all off the monster gimmick.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wait, so how did Renesto come in and he been on TV as, like, the NWA representative or something?
Well, no. What it was you got to remember, the monster turned babyface, and that's because Renesto found out his secret. Renesto took, like, a little flashlight and shined it in the monster's eyes and did, like, a Morse code. And he realized he's really a good monster. He's not bad. They made him bad. And so, I'm not joking on this. I swear to God, the monster would appear with Renesto on TV each week, and pat him on the back and Renesto was his father, and Renesto would do these interviews saying, I've grown quite fond of this big guy, and he's like he's very special to me, and again, I'm not making this up. One night, so the fans could really bond with the monster, they had Monster Camera Night, where everybody could get their picture taken with the monster. Thinking back on this was brilliant. What am I talking? This is the golden age of L.A. next to Blassie and Tolis.
Wait, so the idea being what? That with the flashes from the camera be good for him too?
That's why the flashes from the camera, and then he stormed the arena and climbed up the Empire State Building.
The flashes from the camera turning back heel again. They start slapping.
That's right.
Forward. Yeah,
and the plane shot him down.
Yeah.
Oh, 'twas Beauty who shot him down.
So, wouldn't that mean that during one of the matches, if they just started flashing lights in the monster's eyes, they could turn him back again?
That would have been clever. Well, he did have an opponent come that next year, Bigfoot.
Oh, my God.
It was Salvador Lothario under a hood.
Salvador Lothario? Oh, God.
Someone in the YouTube comments said that Salvatore Lothario ended up taking over as the monster.
I don't think so.
It was some guy. It was a local guy. I think he was saying he was a local worker. Let me look up the comments. It was Baron something.
Dan. It was probably Dan who wrote that.
Yeah. Well, Salvatore played a lot of different guys. I mean, from time to time.
He was the medic at one point.
He was Mr. California.
And then they had that great, as Salvador Lothario, he had that great upset win with La Pantera Negra over Gordon and Goliath.
Yes, exactly.
Which they always use as the intro to the Lucha Libre TV show.
Yeah.
Apparently was actually a pretty tough cat. Well, guys,
it's
about that time.
Baron Turco.
Who?
Baron Turco. If you have any idea who that is.
Joe Turco, maybe? Could have been Joe Turco?
No.
Because I wrestled there very briefly during the dying days, and LaBelle still had Booker Tom Ernesto fire me because I was working for Ripper Leone one night a week in Bakersfield, making more than I did for a week from LaBelle. Everybody in the dressing room seemed to hate each other during the dying days. LOL.
That was after, wasn't it, Kurt? You were
No, Leone was promoting in 81, 82, and the Ripper closed up shop in the middle of, in September of 82, and LaBelle at the end of 82. And I was at a lot of those shows all the time. I never, ever heard of a Baron Turco, ever.
So it's not Joe Turco, though?
No. In fact, I remember at that point everybody was wondering what happened to Joe Turco. Like, all the, the smarks across the country is saying, whatever happened to that guy? No.
I don't know if it was the name that the guy worked with, but that's the name he's posting on YouTube. I don't know who it could be. I mean,
maybe it's a delusional person. I mean, I remember Waldo Guzman. I remember everybody in the LA territory.
Maybe he's the love child of Baron Miguel Cicluna and Joe Turco.
Oh Lord! Well, we're about to get cut off.
Though, I just want to read you from another ad someone posted.
I was going to cut you off, Vic.
No, we got a minute. So just quick though. It just said from the thing before I see the Knoxville Outlaw group. I'm guessing that Don Diamond was working for the Fullers or whoever. It says Ronnie Garvin puts up $5,000, challenges Don Diamond, who puts up a Manilow album, first real wrestling match if he shows up.
Oh dear, that's funny.
So, if you see a shooting star.
Yes, take it away, Bix. I want you to take it away. Do it.
So, I don't remember the whole setup. Get me started.
If you're walking through Southern California on a starry evening,
and you see a shooting star, what looks like a shooting star, it's
not a shooting star.
It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder.
Yes.
Give me a wow.
Wow! Adios, Blog Talk. We'll see you on another blog station or something in 2011. You guys rock.
Unless me and Zombie are right, then there might be one more.
Not after we trashed it tonight, no.
Okay.
Totally.
One more wow.
Loser leaves Blog Talk. No, winner leaves Blog Talk.
Okay, we got to have one more wow, though. Sign it off.
Okay. Wow! See you in 2011, my hip cats.